Go ahead. Oh, you're not ready at all, huh? You said, "Are you ready?" And then you weren't ready at all. And I'm leaving all this in so everybody knows you're not prepared.
If you were ready, I didn't say I was ready.
Mm-hmm. Kind of implies, but.
Okay, I totally changed the topic I had planned for this episode. We said I was going to do zombies, and I still will, but I just wasn't in the mood for that today, and at the last minute, wrote a different episode.
Go ahead.
Okay, is there anything you want to say first?
You remember a chess tournament that I told you about in the last episode? And I said, I'm going to a chess tournament, but it was before that, and then the episode came out, and the chess tournament already happened, and now we're doing another episode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody got beat by a 12-year-old, so.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, those Armenians, they're good at chess.
Good job, 12-year-old. Okay, anything else?
No.
All right. The Cheat River is known to most as a place of fun with rafting, fishing, and scenic views. The lake formed after a dam was placed on the river adds an area for swimming and boating. While the majority of visitors to this area enjoy their experience, some leave with the haunting encounter of ghosts seen running through the woods. Ghosts which may or may not be headless. Keep listening to learn more about the tragic history behind these apparitions. This is Country Roads Creeps.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Leave us a 5-star review.
And let us know if you want a sticker. Okay, so this story starts on January 18th in 1970. There were two girls, one named Karen Farrell and the other named Merid Malaric, and they were attending West Virginia University, which I discussed in a previous episode of Haunted Colleges and Universities in West Virginia. Yeah. It's also your alma mater.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know, this is in Morgantown and Monongalia County in the northern part of West Virginia. And these girls were freshmen. They were last seen hitchhiking back to their dorms. They lived in Evansdale. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I lived on Evansdale.
Okay, that's where they were.
Evansdale is the, sorry.
That's okay.
Evansdale is where towers are. There's towers, and there's another one. It's Lincoln Hall is there, and those dormitories, and then that's where the engineering campus is, and that's where the Creative Arts Center is, and that's where the Coliseum is, and that's where the ag buildings are.
Cool. There's a lot.
And there's a place called Hugh Babies, and they have cheeseburgers, and they're good.
Hugh Babies?
Well, I don't know. When I was there, back in the day, they had just opened up the Evansdale Crossing where they put in a new bookstore and a PRT stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go in and skip the bookstore completely because everything's way overpriced, and go downstairs, and they have a Greek place that's garbage, and they have Hugh Babies and his cheeseburger spot, and it's good, and they put some kind of stuff on it, some kind of sauce. Mm-hmm. Don't ask what the sauce is made of.
It sounds good.
It's good though. Yeah.
You brought up the PRT, so I don't think that was a thing in 1970.
I believe it was started in the 70s.
Oh, really?
I believe that. I think it's older than you would think.
Okay.
I'll look it up while you talk.
So like I said, they were hitchhiking, which was not an uncommon thing to do in this time period. Everybody hitchhiked, even though we know now it's not a very good idea, but that was just the norm. They had seen a movie called Oliver at the Metropolitan Theater in downtown Morgantown. They ran into some friends while they were there, and they were last seen getting into a cream-colored sedan, and then they went missing.
1975.
Okay, so this was
operational.
Before the PRT.
Okay, they word this kind of falsely, so I'm going to read it to you exactly as the PRT website. This is prt.wvu.edu, the history of the PRT.
Okay.
Operational since October 1975. Now, operational, very loose term that they use because it's always broken.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's always broken down.
I've heard that.
to the extent that they had to make a Twitter account for it that
of when it was working.
People follow, and they put on there almost exclusively the PRT shut down, and then when it comes back up. So before you leave for class, you would have to check Twitter, go to the thing, and look at the PRT schedule, and then ultimately look at the bus schedule.
That's really funny.
So, yeah. And the worst thing is whenever it's up, and then you go walk to the PRT, and it's from my apartment to the nursing PRT, it was like a 10-minute walk. And then it's shut down by the time you get there?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Talk about steaming.
Okay. So they went missing in January, and coming up closer to April, there were some anonymous letters that came about that were allegedly written by the killer, saying where the girls could be found. And these were postmarked from Cumberland, Maryland, and signed with a triangle. I'm going to read those letters to you towards the end of this episode, but they had directions supposedly on where the bodies could be found, but that
were the
it wasn't correct.
Pointing that way?
No. So, like,
left.
Following the directions was unsuccessful for the police. They weren't actually, they didn't lead them to them.
So it was a trick.
But yes, but through just like other investigation and people finding some of their stuff, like one of the girls' purses and some different things, they did find them in April on an old mining road called Morgan Run Road near Fairmont.
So you're going to read the letters at the end?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and they will include the directions?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we can judge how good the directions are.
Well, so the girls were found about 10 miles south of Morgantown, and the directions led the police to a place like 26 miles away. So it wasn't close.
Well, I mean, we'll be the judge of that.
Okay.
Well, how good are the directions? Like, was it?
We'll get to it.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Fairmont is in Marion County, so it was one county below, but it's still kind of close together. They were in makeshift graves, and they had been decapitated.
Ooh.
Their heads were never found. Spoiler. Their killer. I shouldn't have said that. Their killer confessed a year after their disappearance. Okay. Except, dun dun dun, it wasn't really him.
Okay.
Yeah. So this guy named Eugene Paul Clausen was in prison in New Jersey when he confessed to the crime. Mm-hmm. He said that if someone got him out of prison and took him to Morgantown, he would show the police where the girls' heads were and where the weapons that he used were buried. So they did. They took him there, but he couldn't lead the cops to any evidence. He also said that he had assaulted the girls, but there was no evidence of that on their bodies, thankfully. And he also said that he decapitated them while they were alive, but the forensic evidence showed that that happened days after the girls were killed. So all the stuff that he's saying and claiming that he did does not match up with what they found in the investigation. Yeah. Also, he was at work in New Jersey in the afternoon of the day that the girls went missing, and he was back at work in New Jersey the next morning. So it would have been super difficult for him to even do this because that's like a couple 100 miles apart, and he would have had to get there, commit 2 murders, hide the bodies, leave no evidence behind, and then get back from one afternoon to the next morning. I don't think that's even possible.
And that's almost as striking evidence as being caught on camera at a McDonald's when you were supposed to be renting a U-Haul truck. People who know will get that.
What is that in reference
future
to?
episode.
Okay.
Future episode.
Okay. That's exciting. But despite all of this, he was found guilty of it, and he was convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder.
For real?
Yeah.
Maybe just because the police had to get a conviction.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said that he did it, and part of the problem was that he was not a good dude anyway. Oh. And people wanted him in jail for other things that he had done. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not really the right way to do it, but that's what happened there. Yeah. He eventually said that he made it all up after reading about it in a magazine, but he stayed in prison until he died in 2009. Huh. So, like, no takebacks.
What kind of, I don't know, what kind of, like, what would possess you to be like, I committed murders when I didn't? Like, he was out of jail, right? Not a good dude, you said?
No, he was in prison in New Jersey when he did this. I read part of it was that he thought, he didn't like the prison he was in, and he thought that if he admitted to this, he would be extradited to West Virginia and get to go somewhere that might, in his opinion, be better. Okay.
I took that to, you said that people wanted him in jail for other stuff, but so that.
I think they wanted him to have like a longer sentence. Yeah. He was in prison at the time for assaulting a 12-year-old boy. Oh. So, yeah. I guess.
I thought you meant they had like let him out. Oh. And now but yeah. I don't know what would possess you, though, to be like, I did these murders.
I don't either. And that happens like
all the time.
A lot, yeah. I know some people, I guess, just get coerced into admitting to a crime they didn't do, but this guy of his own free will was like, yeah, I did it. I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't know. So he died in 2009. Now, there were some important things that happened in literature and media after this that inspired something in the future. So, in 2021, Joffrey Fuller and Sarah James McLaughlin published a book called The WVU Co-ed Murders, Who Killed Merritt and Karen. They did a ton of research into this case and really like put all of the information together for this book. And there was also a podcast released by Chromatic Media called Merritt and Karen, the WVU Co-ed Murders. So like same title, but they were reversed. This podcast won the Mark of Excellence Award by the Society of Professional Journalists in the category of Radio In-Depth Reporting. And it was also made part of the curriculum for forensics at WVU, for true crime at Marshall University, and for podcasting at University of Tennessee because it was so well done. So that's kind of interesting that it is now in colleges' curriculums for 3 different programs. Now,
you think we can win an award?
Absolutely not. No.
Probably not.
There's not a chance.
Like maybe worse.
We can't do it. We can't do an episode without a mistake.
Like 2 dumbest hosts try to do a podcast
and try to tell a story, and all of their statements contradict each other, and they argue.
Yeah. Well, I would never argue. Just correct about stuff.
Okay. I'm just not even going to comment on that. So the book came out, the podcast is out, and this inspired Albert Rod Everly to look into the case again. He was a retired contractor. He was a vocational teacher. He was also in the National Guard unit that first discovered the bodies back in the 1970.
Okay.
So he listens to this stuff, and he gets renewed interest and helps lead a secondary investigation or search like 52 years later. Right? Yes, because this is happening in 2022. So 52 years later, he's like,
so this is a new
let me go back and look into this. Yeah.
Oh, so he's like in his 70s.
I don't know how old he was at the time. So in May 2022, following the original letter's instructions, they start searching again around the areas. Okay. West Virginia State Police search in the woods near Morgantown because the letter is still not really helpful.
Okay.
The instructions are just not correct, but that's what gets them started. They get into the woods near Morgantown with 6 cadaver dogs. 2 other groups of dogs are brought in, and they let the dogs all have a turn working separately. And every dog that they brought indicated they found something in the same 2 spots. There's some scent that they're marking on.
Okay.
As of 3 years ago.
Bring me back at the end to dog sniffing.
I'm going to just go down here and make a note because I'll forget. Dog sniffing. Okay. So they bring in a backhoe and start digging where the dogs have marked. And they ordered a ground penetrating radar, which was described as basically a big X-ray machine that can see down into the ground.
Was it like a LiDAR thing or just a... I don't know.
I don't know. It didn't say that, but maybe. I don't know. Okay, so this happened in 2022. I cannot find any updates on this, so I'm assuming it was unsuccessful. I have looked and looked. I've typed in their names. I've typed in, update this investigation. I've read so many news articles. The last thing anyone talked about was that they were doing this. Okay. And no one will tell me what happened after.
Yeah. So they didn't find anything and they just never told anybody.
That they never just came back to it. If someone has found an update, please let me know because I would like to know. Obviously, I'm sure if they found their heads, that would have been publicized. But did they find anything? I just want some details. There's no updates on it. Which is disappointing. Yeah. And you know what that just reminded me of?
What?
I need to look into if there was an update on the plane that they found that might have been Amelia Earhart's. Because remember when I did that episode, they had just done that little radar thing and the shape really looked like a plane. And so they were getting ready to organize and fund another search mission.
Yeah.
I wonder whatever came of that, if they've done that yet.
I think you would have seen that on the news. You would,
I'm sure.
imagine, but
I wonder. I want to find out like what their progress is.
yeah,
Y'all gonna go find it or not?
Reminded me of something completely different.
That's okay.
That it seems like every few years around here, you'll read about like a hunter finding a human skeleton in the woods.
Yeah.
And they're like, and then they do like testing and they're like, oh, this was like a murder that we've been looking for 30 years.
Yeah.
And like a missing person.
That was just on the news like this last week that they found someone's remains for a cold case. Yeah.
Oh. They found some remains of a cold case in, I won't say the place. It was like a year ago. And it was like, well, that's, I was going to say sort of close to where, but I can't even do that. But it's without like half doxing myself. Mm-hmm. But it's, yeah, they found like remains, and I think the person was like arrested for like having remains on their property, and they're like, I didn't have anything to do with killing this guy. It was buried on my property.
Like before they lived there?
No, like I think somebody dumped a body like in their backyard, and
oh, that's scary.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Okay, so we need to check into the Amelia Earhart update and keep tabs on this.
Write that down.
I mean, that was almost coming up on 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. So,
yeah,
I guess nothing came of it. Okay. Would you like to hear the letters that were sent?
Yes.
There were 4. The first letter says...
Could you imagine if I said no?
No.
Like, let's just end it here. I don't care.
I guess we're done. Gentlemen, I have some information on the whereabouts of the bodies of the 2 missing West Virginia University co-eds, Merritt Malarick and Karen Farrell. Follow directions very carefully, to the nth degree, and you cannot fail to find them. Proceed 25 miles directly south from the southern line of Morgantown. This will bring you to a wooded forest land. Enter into the forest exactly 1 mile. There are the bodies. 25 plus 1 equals 26 miles total. Will reveal myself when the bodies are located. Sincerely, Triangle. So, like, not the most specific instructions, but they definitely were not 26 miles away.
Morgantown is at least, like, a few miles wide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
they were not 26 miles south of Morgantown. They were 10 miles south of Morgantown.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is like, it's not specific in the, like, these are not good directions.
Of like where to start on the southern line. Yeah.
Because like southern line of Morgantown's like, I don't know, that could be anywhere on like a huge swath of land, like miles long.
Yeah.
I don't know how big, how from east to west, how big Morgantown is, but.
Yeah. So they were not found after the first letter. So they sent the second one. Gentlemen, I saw the article in this morning's newspaper concerning my previous letter on the missing 2 co-eds. If you reread my first letter carefully, you will see the directions were specific, direct south from the city, meaning the southern limit of Morgantown, West Virginia. Straight south 25 miles, you will come to a forest woodland. Enter in 1 mile south. Fanning out, you will locate the bodies of the girls covered over with brush. Look carefully. The animals are now on the move. Do trust this will help you out with exact location. Will still identify myself when bodies are located. Sincerely, Triangle. So, I mean, like, that is just horrible. Just horrible that someone's writing this saying, look carefully, the animals are now on the move. Yeah. This is awful. And, like, this is being published, and their families are reading these, and they don't know where they are, and it's just absolutely terrible.
Just reads that, like, somebody who saw it in a magazine or in a newspaper or something, and then is like, well, I'm going to lead the police on a wild goose chase. That's, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. So they were found after this second letter, but not thanks to the letters, just because of the like normal investigative practices. So after that, after the bodies were found, and it was like made known that their heads were missing, then there's the third letter sent, and it talks about the heads. Interesting that they didn't say anything about that before it was public knowledge.
Right.
So, like, whoever is writing this is not the killer. because they didn't know that until the police found the bodies.
Totally different if it was the first or second letter that they're like, you'll find the bodies are here, the heads are somewhere else.
Yeah, that would have been more, probably more alarming. Like, this is still alarming, but it's not the person that did it. So in the third letter, it says, the heads can be found from the position of the bodies by striking out 10 degrees southwest for the first head and approximately 10 degrees southeast for the second, roughly 1 mile. You are already 7/10 of that mile. They are within the mine entrance, if you can call it an entrance, considering its condition. They are buried not over 1 foot in depth. The ones responsible for the murders scattered some of the girls' personal effects over the general area, creating a pattern of confusion, making it difficult for you to pinpoint any exact location. My first 2 letters triggered your intensive search. Don't give up now. Sincerely, Triangle. So now they put in here the ones responsible for the murders. So saying it's not the letter writer and that it's more than one person.
Yeah.
And then...
So, I mean, it still reads like it's not...
It's just someone trying to get attention or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But also, maybe... Okay. Theory. Well, continue.
No, go ahead.
My theory at the end.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Because I'm getting through this faster than I anticipated. So go ahead and say anything you want to say.
Either it's not the killer or killers, and they're just like, I'm going to trick the police and make them go on a wild goose chase. Or it is the killer, and they're like, oh, you can find them south this much, but they're trying to like still throw them off a little bit. And make them think that, like, if they catch the person who wrote the letters, it's, like, not, you know what I mean? And then, but still point them in the direction. So it's like, oh, it's still south. So it's like, we found them 10 miles south instead of 26 miles south. And then here's the heads and these mine entrances. And were there personal effects scattered throughout? And were the heads buried a foot deep? Or were they just found?
They weren't, the bodies were not buried very deep. It was just like kind of shallow makeshift graves. They did find, I want to say it was Karen's purse on the side of a road.
Yeah.
That kind of helped lead them to where they were.
Okay.
So, but they could have read about that after it was, because this letter came after they'd been found. So it's possible they read those details somewhere and put them in the letter.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean is like if it's the killer and he's trying to like lead them, it really sounds like it's not the killer. It's just making stuff up, whatever. But if it is, then you would be like, oh, I'm going to try to like make it seem like I'm not the killer because I'm so smart.
Mm. Now, the fourth letter was sent to the parents of the girls.
Ooh.
It says, I've sent 3 letters to the Morgantown State Police Department concerning your daughters, Merritt and Karen. The first and second were taken with some seriousness and instituted a search, which was successful in locating 2 bodies minus the heads, which were needed for other purposes. All of a sudden, the police have been complaining about an error in the mileage stated in my second letter. After one has driven in an oval pattern for 26 miles under the weather condition of January and under the involved circumstances, it is possible to make about an 18-mile error in the precise location of the bodies. Nevertheless, they were found south of Morgantown as stated in the letter, even to that which was called a logging lane or old mine road, in my opinion, both the same. So, that begs the question, who wrote these letters? I'm going to tell you.
It really... Okay.
But go ahead. What's your thought?
Well, now it's going to make my theories sound dumb.
No, it's not.
But if... I don't believe that you could make a 16-mile error just from driving in an oval.
Yeah,
it'd be different.
None of that even makes any sense.
It'd be different if he was like 11 or 12 miles south and they found him 10 miles south. You can be like, I could overestimate a mile or 2. But I think if I was killing people, which I'm not.
For the record.
And if I was burying their bodies, which I'm not, I would know probably where they are, which I don't. If there are any bodies to be found that I killed, which there are not and I have not. Just to be clear.
Good. To be clear. Okay, let me tell you who wrote them.
Okay.
And one of the investigators...
Nosferatu.
Oh, did I sent you the thing that they're like they're remaking, what was it? Was it Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yeah.
Are you excited about that?
No.
Why not?
I don't like remakes.
But they're going to have the original girl back, aren't they?
I think, yeah, but I just don't. I'm not a big fan of remakes. They always ruin it. It's like, and also I think that I think one of the things is they ruin them because they want the original fans to come back and watch a thing. But I also think that, and they, either they lean way too much into it and it's kind of like it's just too on the nose, or they ruin it with something else. But also I think that people don't like remakes typically because it never has the same nostalgia that you remember something with. Like if I go back and try to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I don't think I would like it right now.
Yeah.
But I watched it all the time when I was like, a kid, like middle school, high school.
Is it going to be a remake or a reboot? Like, are they telling the same story or is this a continuation?
I don't know. I didn't read the thing.
I didn't either. But I was trying to think of examples, and the first one that came to my mind was Full House and Fuller House.
Yeah.
And Fuller House was like the sequel when they were grown up. And I hate to say this, I didn't really like it.
Yeah, not good.
I wanted to like it because I loved Full House, but I didn't really like Fuller House. What else? What are other ones?
Scooby-Doo.
All the Scooby-Doos are good.
No. I think there's two Scooby-Doos that are good. I think the very original Scooby-Doos and the Scooby-Doo that was on when I was a kid that I can't remember the name of. It was like a newer type of animation. I liked those. I did not like any of the newer ones. They had like Scooby Kids. Didn't like that. That came on when I was a kid. Didn't like that. That sucked.
I like that. What was the Hex Girls era?
That was What's New Scooby-Doo?
I like that.
What's New Scooby-Doo? We're coming after you. Gonna solve that mystery. See you, Scooby-Doo.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Liked it. Also, The Office is going to have a remake.
Oh.
They're rebooting it with Jim as the manager.
People either love or hate The Office. I liked it.
I like The Office,
I don't think it needs to be redone. I think it's going to ruin it.
I think that we'll see how it does. I'll probably watch it, just being honest. But, yeah, yeah. What else has a remake? I don't know. I will say though that I just don't think that I don't think that if you watch a show and then you really liked it like 10 years ago and then you rewatch it now, I don't think that you have the same like real feeling that you had back then. Because you know what, people change, and
I agree with that.
And all the things that you would say that are like cliche about people 10 years ago. But, and also like, when they reboot them and stuff, it just seems like, eh.
Oh, Lost in Space was a remake. But I never watched the original. I only watched the remake, and I loved it. But I didn't have the first one to compare it to.
Yeah. So that makes sense. I think there's very, very, very few remakes and reboots that are any good.
I don't remember how we started talking about this.
I said Nosferatu because you're going to tell me who wrote the letters.
Gosh.
Man, that's like the first time I've ever been able to grasp
Okay, I'm bringing it back. One investigator was able to use some handwriting analysis and traced the letters back to 3 members of a cult called the Psychic Science Church. Would you have predicted that twist in the story? Not me.
That like some freaky people who wear Nikes or something, or Scientologists would be doing murders? Yeah, I could probably, if you would have given me a hint, I probably could have guessed.
But they weren't.
Oh, that they were writing letters about murders. Probably could have guessed that too. Yeah.
I want to look into this cult more and this church and see if it might be a good episode, kind of like the Heaven's Gate.
Okay. Or the Nexium cult.
We haven't done that, have we?
No, it's on the list.
Are you going to?
No, you said you were going to.
Okay, I forgot.
You told me in Walmart we were standing in front of the spoons and you said that cult owns this company that makes these spoons.
That's Oneida.
Oh. Well, you're doing both of them.
I'm probably not going to do Oneida.
Oh.
Okay, NXIVM. I don't know them. I have to look into that. Oh, I was listening to one of our other episodes this morning because I'm a little bit behind. And you said you're going to talk about someday underground government bunker tunnels.
Yes.
I think that'd be a good one. I just wanted to remind you.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll do that. Yeah.
The leader of this cult was Reverend Richard Warren Hoover, and he claimed that the
Reverend. Oh, he just calls himself that.
Psychic Science Church.
Got you. He calls himself. I thought for a second it was like a real guy, Reverend.
I guess in their church he is.
Yeah. But.
He claimed the information in the letters came from a spirit during a seance. So he and his members were not really the authors. They were just the messengers. And I guess when the police went to talk to him, he started doing a seance during the conversation. And they were like, this is not the guy. Yeah,
this is weird.
And they left.
So can you get in trouble for that? Like if you're a church and you're like, a spirit told us. Can you could that be a defense that no, our God
I guess it was enough for them at the time
that we need to write these letters, and I guess so they weren't prosecuted?
No, they just kind of labeled it a hoax, which doesn't seem like the right word to me. But that's what they called it.
But what is it when it's not tampering with evidence, but it's like when you try to mislead police or lie to police about something? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Called something.
Like interfering with the investigation.
Interfering with the investigation. Very good.
Thank you. They just kind of wrote it off because the directions in the letters did not match where the bodies were found. And I guess that wasn't enough for them to believe he didn't really have anything to do with it. They were just trying to get attention or do their weird culty things. However, Everly, that guy I mentioned earlier that was in the National Guard unit that found them and that was trying to find them again, he really thinks that it could have been this cult leader. He thinks that this was maybe sort of an overlooked confession, is what he called it.
Oh.
That he should have been. I mean, the guy's dead now. The Reverend is dead, so they can't go back and question him again. But he thinks maybe that there was some stuff missed there. So it's unfortunate that could have been it, and it might have been missed. However, there were also a lot of other suspects in this case, like 30 people originally. But the problem was they thought that these letters at the start were written from the killer. And so they looked at the handwriting, and because these people's handwriting didn't match, they dismissed them as suspects. But
did the Reverend match?
Yeah. The Reverend wrote the letters.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Shane got such an excited look on his face and then deflated.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So but
then when they found out that the letters weren't from the killer, they didn't go back to those suspects that they had already dismissed. So the case just ran cold. And then there was some public outcry a little bit because of these things, like that it was sort of mishandled a little bit and was maybe not the best police work ever to be done.
Yeah.
So that's that, unfortunately. Now, the reason why this story is on Country Road Creeps, because we don't do true crime just for the sake of true crime.
Oh, the headless ghost. I forgot.
Yes, the headless ghosts. So.
Okay, man, this is 30 minutes of, man, okay.
30 minutes of what?
I thought.
You forgot what we were talking about?
Yeah, I thought this was.
Well, that's good, because then I engrossed you in the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
The headless ghost, okay.
People claim to hear growling, screaming, and whistling coming from the woods around Cheat Lake. We've talked before that you're not supposed to whistle in the woods, or whistle back if you hear one, or follow the whistle.
Yeah.
Because it's always something bad. The growling, that could be literally anything.
Screaming.
Animals do live in the woods. Screaming's a little more alarming.
Bobcats sound like ladies screaming in the woods.
Okay, the baby's going to finish up the podcast here with us. So I left off that there's growling, screaming, whistling coming from the woods around Cheat Lake. There have also been car accidents, like numerous accidents, that were blamed on people seeing shadowy figures of the two girls running through the woods. It's unclear if they were looking for their heads or not. I think maybe sometimes they're seen with their heads, sometimes they're seen without, which would be absolutely horrifying, terrifying, so scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been more than one sighting of that. And that's the end. That's all I have.
Huh.
Thoughts?
Headless ghosts are scarier than normal ghosts.
For sure. Facts. By a lot.
I think you're right. A lot of the sounds could be explained naturally. I don't know about the other stuff. I don't know about the car crashes. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it's full moon.
Maybe. Scary. Okay, I wrote the note you wanted to come back and talk about dogs sniffing stuff.
Oh, dog sniffing. Me and my girlfriend watched a documentary about dogs and how it's on Netflix. It's called Inside the Mind of a Dog. There's also one called Inside the Mind of a Cat. That both of them are good. The dog one, they take you through training service dogs and how they select service dogs to be service dogs and what duties they will. Like they have certain ones that, like they take them to a theme park and put them next to a roller coaster. And if they freak out because of the loud noises, then they're like, okay, this one we can put in a certain role. And if they are like, they call them bomb-proof dogs because they just like, they'll be like, oh, there's new sounds, and then they just go take a nap. Those ones they'll send to like PTSD patients and veterans and stuff because they're a lot more calming and stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they will choose certain dogs for certain jobs, and one of the things that in that thing is you know how dogs have a slitted nose on the side? Uh-huh. They can 3D locate smells.
Well, that's cool.
In space. And also, dogs can smell dead bodies. And not only do they smell dead bodies, they can smell dead bodies when there's like 30 other people around. Like they have cadaver dogs and bomb searching explosion dogs that they will go into places that have been blown up or earthquaked or something. And then they will...
Earthquaked?
Yeah, whatever. And there's buildings everywhere and people have been crushed. And the dogs will go in, and there's like rescuers all around and firefighters and ambulance people all around. And they'll be like, okay, I'm smelling something, and I smell some food, and I smell I smell all these people around. I also smell another person. Out of the 30 people that I see, it's not one of those people. I can smell them different. And they'll go look for that person. And the scientists who are studying dogs are like, we have no idea how they do that. That's insane.
Yeah, it is insane.
It's the most insane thing ever. And also, just dogs smell stuff that's good. Good job. So speaking of smelling, the dogs smelling stuff, they both of the dogs in your story smelled a thing at the same spot.
All of the dogs, like numerous dogs, found all marked in the same 2 spots. But then they dug there and didn't find anything.
Yeah, so maybe
they were there at one point in time.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they were moved.
Yeah, or like animals.
So, well, you would if it was animals that drug them, then it would be reported on because they would have marks from animals trying to eat the bodies. Right?
No, I mean like animals found the heads and removed them from the they were buried.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. Huh. Did you know that when cows are born, people have to like put some effort into keeping away buzzards because when calves are born, buzzards will come down and pluck out their eyeballs.
Oh no, I did not know that.
And then they can't go feed on their mom, and so they starve to death, and then the buzzards come eat them when they die.
I wish I did not know that.
So maybe it was buzzards that got the heads.
Liked it better 45 seconds ago before you told me that. Yeah, so this is a pretty depressing story. I hope that they're able to someday have some closure to this. I hate cold cases, but I did want to talk about that.
Do you think it's a lot easier to be a criminal a long time ago?
For sure. Yeah.
Seems like there's a lot of cold cases that go cold, and it's like, oh, we have like this evidence, but we couldn't test it, and there's never any closure to it. We also watched a documentary about the Zodiac killer, and I think, I don't know that we'll probably never do the Zodiac Killer on the show because it's kind of just it's a true crime thing mostly, but
yeah, probably been covered enough.
watch the documentary, and it's like a 3-episode docu-series about the Zodiac Killer, and they frame it in the first episode as it's this guy. And so I was telling my girlfriend, like, hey, it's so now that we've gotten through the first episode, the next episode they're going to tell us it's actually not him. They're going to give us a new suspect. And then in the third episode they're going to say it's not either of those two people. Here's a new guy and it's actually him. And the whole 3 episodes they just talk about how this guy's the killer. And it's more and more evidence every episode. And it really looks like it was probably him, but he's dead now. So but they still haven't cracked his codes, which is weird.
Yeah.
The code for his name. So, yeah. But there's lots of cold cases. I feel like if I knew what I know now, and I was a cowboy in like 1894, I would constantly be robbing banks and trains. That's all I would ever do.
Not good, Shane.
That's the only thing I would do is...
You shouldn't do that.
Is be robbing banks and trains and gunslinging and having duels in the city town thing, the square. That's all I would do. That's the only thing.
I don't know what to say to that.
Yep. And I'd shoot rattlesnakes at 100 paces. That's the only thing I would do.
Did you watch The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, I think it was called?
Yeah, me and my girlfriend watched that recently
about that
too.
Already?
Yeah, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I think we might have talked about that. I wanted the whole movie to be about Buster Scruggs. I was kind of disappointed when I realized what was actually happening.
A lot of people really want just a movie about Buster Scruggs. I think that'd be really good.
I do. I was enjoying that.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the movie The Hateful Eight?
I think I've seen half of it.
It's good. I liked it a lot. Has Samuel L. Jackson in it, and it's got Walton Goggins, I think is his name.
Walter Goggins, I think.
Walter Goggins. He's good, and it's got some other people that are really good. So anyway, is that it?
One more thing.
Okay.
I saw a headline that there has been some DNA found that might reveal who Jack the Ripper was.
Oh boy.
Or like get us a little closer to knowing who he was.
Okay.
We'll look into that. Report back.
Great.
That's all I have to say.
Are you going to do Jack the Ripper on the show?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, didn't think so.
Not at all. I'm going to do zombies next, probably.
Okay.
You know what you're doing?
I have some ideas. I don't know. There's a couple of things I want to do that are going to be like massive undertakings for...
Like maybe multi-parts?
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll have to split them up. I'll try to split them up into like different narratives so that it's not just like you have to follow each one like from start to finish.
Oh, that'd be cool. You can like choose your own adventure. Which ones do you want to listen to first?
Yeah, well there's, I mean like MK Ultra, right, is something that I want to do. But MK Ultra is a massive program and they did a lot of different stuff. So like there's the mind control wing of MK Ultra, there's the giving people LSD and as like a truth serum thing, and then there's a murder that exposed the entire thing, and they're still trying to brainwash people today. So allegedly.
You'll tell us more about it.
Yeah. So anyway, you say the thing this time. I'm tired of saying it.
Okay, what is it? Thanks for listening. Be safe driving home. Watch out for that deer.
Bye.
Bye.